Unfortunately, we'll have to be happy with just third place.
I don't think anybody's going to be happy with that, especially these two squads. Whoever's getting sent home is going to be thinking about this for a long while. First ban in, we're going to get Thermite off of the board here. Let's see how else the offense will be hindered.
It's been common to see a lot of hard breacher bans coming out here, especially as of the last few series, and that trend is going to continue. Thatcher, of course, will remain in the mix, so you can still work your way through these walls, but with only Hibana as your option to do so, easily the longest fuse time currently, at least just through a normal projectile that would get rid of that hard destruction, or hard reinforcements, excuse me. That's still going to make it very difficult to get through if you have wall defense on the other side.
Well, last defensive ban coming in now. We're getting rid of the Clash, along with that Wamai that we were just talking about. So could see a pretty decent amount of Capitao play with that Wamai off the board. Capitao's going to be free range to be able to shoot his arrows wherever he pleases. So we'll see if they use that to annoy some of those anchor operators. Round one coming at you guys pretty fast here, and we're headed towards Armory for our first defensive site.
Let's take a look and see how the lineups are going to align. Pretty straightforward lineup with regards to TSM here. Going to change up into a Goyo. Goyo can help out quite significantly at delaying in the event that SSG are going to get any of the 3 double walls open relatively early on, and as a result of that, be able to commit to their push a lot earlier. That's going to get 6 picked away, though. Goes back over to the Valkyrie, which I think was the initial pick from Achieved anyway. So just jumping right back onto that one and making it a much more traditional lineup here that works on quite a few sites across this entire game.
And we are going to have a Jackal pick up here by the offense as well of Bosco. Not the worst pick in the world, especially on Theme Park. I'd definitely say it's going to help them out a lot. Multiple teams roaming quite heavily on this map as theme parks actually become quite congested since the update. Not necessarily in a bad way, it's just that there is a lot of map to be had and a lot of map control that you need to get the job done, especially on that offensive side. So we'll see how TSM is going to attempt to slow down SSG here, and if that Jackal can possibly assist in this roam clear.
Are going to thankfully have quite a bit of roam presence, more than likely established by TSM. It's just with regards to how quickly they're going to be able to pull it back and try to keep those roamers alive that will determine how effective it will be, along with, of course, the amount of time actually getting wasted in the process. We've got SSG out. Looks like it's going to be pretty heavy over towards Dragon to start things off. Just have those couple last reinforcements going down for the defenders, of course. But as you can see, about 4 players already working their way up, either onto the roof or onto the Dragon balcony to start to clear from east to west. Second floor is first on the plate, though, as they do need to deal with their roam presence.
This is a very spread TSM right now. You can see there's not very much site presence. Geo's the only one on site. Everyone else pushed towards the west. Kind of a 2-2 split here. Achieve playing over towards the yellow stairs. Bolo Merc upstairs on arcade balcony side, as well as Chala downstairs inside of the drug lab. Could possibly delay if somebody wanted to try and hop inside of storage. But for SSG, that's not even the take. Their take's actually coming in from cash.
I'll group it up right now. SSG not really finding much with regards to their clear so far here on the second floor, but of course Jackal will make the unseen a lot more obvious with his ability to track those footsteps, so having him nearby here, more than likely tracking down at least a few players, that is going to send TSM reeling back over towards yellow, where you can already see in the case of Achieved, he's been forced to fall back, and he's going to be pincered in a moment here if he's not careful, as I believe there is pressure from players in the yellow hall just behind and above him as well. He has to be very, very cautious about how he plays this. Things looking relatively clear in that hallway. Thank you, Lano, for checking that for me. There is going to be a lot more presence established elsewhere. 1-for-1 exchange and 2 completely detached fights. Fultz and Bolo end up falling. It's an even exchange at the end of the day. Achieve still not able to line up any angle to play against Rampy, though he certainly tries the Nitro cell to the ceiling, but it is not going to connect. And now Rampy commits to the push out over on the catwalk on top of yellow stairs and picks off Achieved himself.
Achieved stuck between a rock and a hard place there. You guys saw Thinking Nade get some good intel on him earlier at the bottom of yellow stairs. Continue to try and play it out and delay as much time as possible, but didn't work out in the end. Ended up dying as he tried to rotate away. But that doesn't mean that they can possibly fight back, but SSG adding insult to injury now as they continue to push this envelope all the way home. Last man remaining is Chala, FMG 9 in hand, so not going to have the one-shot shotty in case anybody does get close. 40 seconds remain now as they've gotten confirmed intel on where he is. Currently playing split with that deployable shield. This is very rudimentary for this site. Plenty of soft destruction going on now, and they have yellow open, so a plant should ensue soon.
Not much that the Chala's going to be able to do here to extend his life. Just going to have to hope that the duels come with good timing so that he can try to space them out. and individually take out these players on a one-by-one basis. The push is going to be coming in, though, towards Split, and I believe it gets picked off by Thinking at bottom Dragon anyway. So that fight eventually goes into SSG's favor, as we did expect. TSM, unfortunately, is not able to peel their roam game back quickly enough to the site, be able to mount a late-round defense, and as such, they are torn apart by SSG one by one in a slow and arduous process.
A lot of disjointed kills there for TSM. Just no real chance to get a refrag, all except for obviously the one that Merc was able to bag for himself at the top of Arcade. Other than that, though, SSG, fantastic roam clear, taken from the proper side and everything. It seemed that they had the intel on how TSM wanted to set things up on that side of the map, and choose to go to the opposite side in order to make the clear a little bit easier. Actually get some presence inside of the building, push across, and start to pick up those frags. Good intel game as well on multiple floors. We'll have to see how things work out now, as TSM's already going to be shifting gears. Don't want to play Armory anymore. We're headed towards Bunk daycare.
Different flair on a different site for TSM. Hopefully the extended game works out a little bit better for them here if they are still going to play into it, and I would assume so considering their operator lineup. But even away from that, generally the extended game plays a lot closer to the site on this specific site. That means TSM should hopefully have a lot more room for forgiveness and chances to actually get their players back in to play out the late round, which was a big problem last time. We're keeping them in extended positions for a really long time, and as a result, it seemed like they were getting hunted out due to the fights that they did take. Some good work, of course, by SSG to make sure that that did happen, as they restricted the movement of TSM's players upstairs in the last round quite heavily. Speaking of which, SSG are about to come out on the board once again, and TSM have got a pretty straightforward setup here for defending the bunks.
This feels like one of the most fast moving, at least from the first round, obviously, theme parks that you and I have casted this entire season. SSG not getting on the brakes at all. It's all gas here, and we'll see if that continues on. Fultz, as well as a drone outside a cafe, seeing if they can get any presence. The duo themselves, Merc and Fultz, about to engage in some combat, but Merc falling back, choosing to try and waste some time here, but still intel just for SSG. Don't want to try and get too aggressive. Don't want to get that cart in front of the horse and possibly have another early death.
Drone gonna get spotted out there by Merc. He will watch to see if there's going to be a follow-up from another member of an SSG who may peek that, but never really plays into the advantage of the attackers on that angle unless they're actually going to drop in there. So very low chance he would get that duel. And away from that, it's looking like Merc is going to have to abandon that position anyway. He still is roaming, trying to hold on to the waiting room initiation and office area just next to their site there. You can see Merc and Geo kind of holding that together. SSG are starting to make some progress on map control. It's only just begun, though, as you can see Fultz going in for a quick clear over towards the bake, or over towards Cafe. We'll get that cleared out relatively quickly. Not much in terms of resistance here from the other side of it on TSM either. We've got one or two players over here at top arcade, but besides that, Cafe is relatively open for the taking if they want to try and swing it over towards yellow.
Oh, some early deaths now coming out for SSG as they're still trying to hold down Cafe, but that's going to be Bosco removed. No more help in the information department. He's able to find some footsteps. Now into the sub-minute 30 area. SSG adjusting throughout the map. Fultz going to get on rappel onto the south side, see if he can possibly get any picks inside of break room or what have you. Rest of SSG, though, still outside of Cafe. Very slow-moving offense this time around, as TSM is still poised completely around the site. Still have office control, still have initiation control as well. Chala and Bolo are doing their damnedest to try and hold down Arcade Balcony. It worked out very, very well early on here, especially with that shield up towards the arcade stairs. But Rampy seeming to know Achieved is downstairs, but that's not even going to matter. We're going to have some trades ensue upstairs as SSG is already hitting site. Diffuser is actually down on Arcade Balcony. Geo and Achieved, the only two that remain. Still plenty of intel to be had here with the Valkyrie and Echo in play, but nobody on cams. Obviously, plenty of bodies on the ground in order to jump on that themselves. Rampy now planting here, but since the Echo's dead, they're going to have to try and find other means in order to prevent this. But it's not going to happen as we go directly into the post plan.
Achieve with a nice find, at least after the skirmish with Geo goes a little bit too far into the yellow hall. That goes into Achieve's POV, and he's able to pick up a kill from that. That only evens out the man count, though, bringing it down to a 2v2. Geo now carries it forward, picking up one for himself. Volts seemed like he had the lineup there to be able to trade that, but the timing was a little bit off. Thankfully for him, Plant's already on the ground, so he just needs to delay this or win out the remaining fights. He's got one for himself. Geo's in the shoddy, trying to pepper some shots through onto Volts, but ultimately Volts will get the better of the exchange, taking control of a second round for the attackers on SSG.
Very unfortunate there for both TSM members. They're seeming very disjointed right now, and I don't know if this is just a follow-up from the previous series or what, but both of the members just not ready for Volta's presence in either of those gunfights. Specifically, that last one right there was a big showing from Geo. Ended up sprinting there and putting the shotgun down, and since you sprint, you're not able to shoot immediately when you want to, and Fultz is able to put enough of those R4C rounds in him to secure that. Nice clutch up there by Fultz, and overall a great round from SSG to be able to get that diffuser down and get the picks needed. It seemed that earlier on in that round they weren't going to be able to achieve very much, but there was still a lot to be had. We're headed towards Bunk daycare once again for TSM. I don't think that this is a bad move at all. They were able to slow down the cafe push a lot, but just were not able to secure things when needed.
Yeah, kept the members of SSG locked in the cafe for a while. I mentioned at one point during the last round that I thought SSG were going to be free to try and swing over towards yellow. That actually was incorrect due to the hold that they had over on the inside of office with the lean out from the inside of vault that was being played, I believe, by Merc in that last round there, or whoever was on their Jaeger in the previous round. So it restricts SSG pretty heavily, disallows them from making any sort of move, but eventually SSG were able to battle past that anyway, and once again take control of the round. A lot closer than last time, though. With some slight adjustments, TSM might be able to close out this site and finally get a defensive win onto the board, which probably explains why they've gone for the reattempt here in round number 3.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing walking into this because Theme, it does lean towards the defensive side, but right now SSG is definitely making it look offensive, even with that clutch from the previous round. For TSM, whether it be just working towards these trades or what have you, we'll have to see. But as of right now, it does seem as though we're not able to get the ball rolling just yet. Hopefully, they're going to be able to rise to the occasion here. Plenty of utility to be had for the defense, like the shield play that they have going on with the Goyo and Smoke, specifically over towards the arcade balcony.
An interesting stat for those of you who are interested. Thank you, by the way, to Jesse for this stat. SSG at the moment have not lost this map since its introduction. They've played it 3 times since it came out, and so far have 3 wins on it.
Thank you so much, Big Brain. We appreciate you, my friend. Already a minute into round 3 now as TSM rocking the same setup that they had the last time, but didn't need to go off of the course too much as SSG didn't have a very good time trying to deal with things. There was quite a few issues that they ran into, but now that they're seeing the same thing over again, I don't know how effective it's going to be. This is something that everyone's talked about for a very long time when it comes to SSG and, more importantly, Canadian. Makes these adjustments all the time for his team. This IGL position, almost an early death here for TSM once again, but end up being very close. Smoke grenade out. Habana's X Kairos going off on the daycare wall. Finally, we have some vision.
Might be a little bit messy, though. I don't know how many of them were left since quite a few were getting shot out, I believe, by Merc or another player who would have been holding on the inside of yellow. Definitely enough to get good vision, as you said, although I'm not certain if they're going to be able to work through any of that, since that top one there on the right side did get taken out for the most part, and it only has the tiny little box present. Thankfully, though, SSG can still utilize that to try and swing around to the primary doors, and there's that piece of soft destruction that they could use to get into the site as well if they want to go in through this direction. The problem is you still have the player on the inside of office, a Merc, that can wreak havoc as soon as they try to swing from the outside of Cafe, as you just saw with the case of Fultz there when he tried to finally peek, and he's already down to 25 HP. They need to look for different options, and unfortunately for SSG, they don't really have a whole lot of time to do this. We're already down at 37 seconds. They're going to need to find a way to commit to this, and quickly.
This is very troublesome, although they have burned through all of Smoke's toxic babes, so we'll have some breathing room finally. But the bad news is that it's still 5-on-5, and Fultz has been injured. He's very, very low on HP, but we might have a nice flank here from Rampy. Oh, the 200 IQ. They have to execute fast, though. There's only 15 seconds remaining. Where we're going to be putting this diffuser down. The briefcase needs a home. What a shot from Canadian. He needs to continue on down the line, though. He's already halfway through the plant. SSG putting it all in the bag, but now Rampy has to pick up the deployable as well. Another nitro cell out. Can it get the kill? It cannot. Rampy's going to confirm the briefcase, but it's a nice move from Achieved. Find some space on the opposite side, though, as the last remaining SSG member, but Rampy can't win it. Achieved with a triple kill on the round, and that begs TSM their first round of Theme Park.
Like I said, just some slight adjustments were all that were needed from TSM. The core setup from round 2 was solid, just needed to hone it a little bit. And that's exactly what they did here on round number 3. Merc's able to stay alive on the inside of Office for a lot longer, forces some last minute rotates at the hands of SSG, and they are just not able to get positioning quickly enough. Certainly made it a battle and nearly got the job done anyway, but this time TSM comes out on top of the round and finally gets themselves on the board.
A lot more patience there from TSM, and that's exactly what they needed. In that previous matchup there, they were not able to achieve too much, mainly because of those early picks that we saw go on, especially when SSG started not necessarily executing, but what we saw in that previous round that we noted when they got vision into daycare. That's when a lot of TSM members started getting feisty. They wanted those fights. They wanted to try and get the picks onto those SSG members, but the trades ensued and it ended up falling into SSG's favor. And that's not what you want to happen ever, as we saw in the round before last. So much more patience there from TSM, begs them their first round, and hopefully this is the start of something fresh.
Hopefully something new for TSM to work off of here, and then they are not actually going to go back over into throne room for the next attempt here either. They're going to rotate over towards lab instead. A site that's been getting quite a bit of popularity in the pro sector of play. Quite a few of these sites actually. In fact, all 4 of them have seen viability for the most part, with this one choosing to be a favorite among specific teams.
I think the most interesting thing, especially from these last few rounds here, is just SSG's ability to plant. I think this is something that we've been talking about throughout the season, is how good they are in strats and their ability to put that diffuser down. And even in those low time situations at the end of those rounds, they're still able to find enough space to get it down, even though they weren't able to win, but still playing that objective play to a T and still giving someone a chance to clutch up. That is what makes SSG SSG. We'll see if they're going to be able to continue that. They're already 2 plants out of 3 rounds, so we'll see if they can possibly make it 75% here.
Quite a bit of roam game going to be extended over into the inside of both Armory and Throne itself, despite the site being over on lab. Obviously the common trend that you see out of teams on these extended holds. So a little bit of extra work that SSG will have to go towards. A relatively safe room, which is why Achieved is also going to be occupying it there on the pulse. So hopefully he doesn't get caught in the event he's tunnel vision. He has some time to react to that and try to swing over and win any fights. Even he gets challenged by a member of SSG. SSG, in the meantime, though, are once again going for that top clear. First off, here, the east to west second floor clear out. I'll have to deal with Geo on yellow. Thankfully, it looks like he's already backing up and giving room for the players that are clearing out office to back by. As you're going to see Rampy opening up that soft wall going to catwalk in just a moment, assuming it's not reinforced. I don't think it would be, so.
No, it's not reinforced.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. I was like, just making sure, but...
And this seems to be the rudimentary take here from SSG. This is exactly how we saw them handle things last time. Get office control, make a hole inside the single panel for the scaffolding, so they get a drone up there to see exactly what's going on at the top of yellow, as well as inside the hallway. Good intel here for them as they're clearing out the top floor. TSM, though, all set up downstairs and plenty of nitro cells to be had. We have 3 on the defense, but that doesn't matter if you're not able to get some kills with them. We're already 2 minutes through this round. SSG with plenty of presence here, but we need to see these initial frags.
Potentially could become the same problem as the last round, where SSG are struggling to find those initial picks to really start their execute and get them rolling here. Building up a lot of anticipation towards that moment. Now a bit more of a setup here as Rampy takes care of some of the soft paneling above the sites itself. He'll start to look for opportunities to either take players out completely or use one of those 2 frag grenades, maybe both, to pick up some kills here You've got multiple members of TSM hiding primarily on the west side of the site. You can hear that beeping too. They've got a pre-placed C4. If somebody runs in the wrong spot over top arcade, they could be a dead man. And the players on TSM can find themselves in a good position. They're going to be in a good position regardless, though. We're down to 20 seconds, and nothing's happened yet.
And this is that patience from TSM shining through once again. Chala's going to take a little bit of damage, but he's got Merc in tandem with him. Anyone that hops that window is surely dead. Bolts with the first kill at 10 seconds remaining. It's a harsh execute here for SSG. Canadian rotating to the bathroom. He gets achieved off guard. He needs to sprint in and get this kit down, though. 0-0. Does he have the time? He does! Oh my god, SSG!
Wow.
What is that? Such an impressive offensive round as they hightail it into sight and remove every single speck of TSM from Theme Park.
That is a world champion level execution if I have ever seen it right there. Beautiful stuff from SSG. I'm doubting them until the very second they go for it. But it seems all that time they spent just posturing up outside of the site is intel gathering, setting themselves up for success, because when they go in, they come in booming, knocking out player by player by player on the side of TSM, leaving absolutely no one alive and killing the last man standing with a little less than a second left on the clock. Beautiful stuff from SSG. Very risky, but it plays out. And it's not the first time we've seen play like that this weekend.
All I have to say is, Lycan, I see you. I see you, Lycan. I see you. That was extremely impressive. I know you got the biggest smile after that one. Troy was putting down that diffuser as 0-0 hit. And in case you guys don't know the mechanics of the diffuser, the briefcase actually has to be laying on the ground for the timer to be extended. If you hit F and you're taking it out of your pocket, that does not count. So it was truly, truly frame perfect there, like a fighting game, for Canadian to put that briefcase down. That was probably one of the most impressive rounds I've seen from this entire tournament.
Very, very cool stuff from SSG, and it is going to flip the site for TSM yet again here, as they do not feel the confidence to re-attempt the lab defense, given how one-sided the execute was, even with the low time on the execute. It's back over into Throne to re-attempt this one, as unfortunately the upstairs site, which they won, is still going to be locked away for this round.
Well, TSM headed back towards Armory. Going to have the roam game again. Achieved, though, on the Mozzie this time. Bolo bringing the mute, so trying to slow down SSG in the information game. More than likely a good idea, as that's what SSG obviously leans on quite heavily. That's how they're able to achieve things like they did in the last round, where all of a sudden the pressure just floods in, and you're not really able to do anything about it. But it's going to be the roam clear here from them once again. Very cheeky angle into Gong here, or achieved. Playing at the top of Dragon's Stairs. See if he can be successful here with this roam. We're also going to have Bolo upstairs as well, trying to help achieve with this roam, as well as Merc. We have everyone. We have the whole team once again off site, but they're playing more spread throughout the map. Obviously, knowing how SSG wants to clear now, they're favoring the east side instead of the west.
So they're going to get the pings to confirm the position of the Mozzie. If they're aware of that pre-fire angle on Dragon Stairs, then they won't get tripped up by it more than likely, since the Chief's been pinged in that exact position about 2 to 3 times now. So that's all on the intel game from SSG, though. And more importantly, whether anyone's even going to go through Gong, which at this point is possibly an unlikely situation. Achieved is possibly going to have to fall back to the site soon anyway, because as soon as SSG go for this Dragon clear, if Achieve's not in a position to fight, it'd be very unwise, in my opinion, for him to stay here for a long time. Bit of an awkward stare between Fultz and Merc for a moment, but Fultz definitely ends up getting the better out of that fight. Rampy is also going to have success in taking out Bolo. The same can be said for Thinking Nade, as he isolates Achieved and finishes him off there closer to Dragon. Once again, the same problem as when TSM played onto this site the last time. The roam game is just picked apart piece by piece, all by individual members of SSG. That's not a great sign for TSM, and obviously not a great sign for Chala or Geo, who still have to try and find a way to stay in this round.
No, this roam clear from SSG is just absolutely stunning. Going to have some damage taken from Rampy, but it's just a participation trophy for Geo here, as he's tagged him, but definitely did not bag him. It's all down to Chala inside of sight once again, and I think this is an opportune time to talk to you guys about that roam clear, because my god, is that thing vicious. They set up in order to push each other, but it seems as though we might have some initial engagements here, as Chala is already posturing towards the door trying to get aggressive, but it's not going to matter. Thinking Nade gun up, prepared for him to swing. SSG with their first flawless of this round. But again, back into that roam clear, John, the main thing that I'm seeing here is that they will set up on whichever side of the map that they really want to clear. Obviously here on Theme Park, they're favoring the cash side as they push through, but it's not a very large push or, you know, a very large force by those members of SSG on that side of the map. What they do is they establish their lines of sight to cut off where the rotations are going to be for these roamers, and then they send Fultz in from the opposite end of the map with intel on drones and have him actually push them or get those entry kills, whichever comes first, on these roamers. And it works so well. It's actually something that I've learned from hunting with my dad, where you try and push the birds out inside of the field, where you're obviously working towards each other and trying to get things to pop out. So it's a very nice clear from them. Well done.
Great stuff from SSG. It's guaranteed 2 nearly flawless and 1 guaranteed flawless round on that basement attack, or not basement, I should say, on that throne room attack so far. The good news for TSM fans out there is they do have the opportunity to go back to, so far, what's been the only site they've been able to win, which is going to be the Bunks. Should expect the same setup on this one. There's been a bit of a pinch setup between Office and Top Arcade from TSM that SSG have been having a problem dealing with. Now, they did take it out on the last round due to a flank, but it was too little too late, as the player in Office was still able to hold and kind of rip apart the rest of that, along with, of course, the anchors themselves in the site, and further back on the Top Arcade balcony, going over there towards like break room area. So SSG now have to figure out a way to get past that element of this hold from TSM. It's a relatively straightforward hold, though, so with some good roam clear once again, which Stokes just talked about, something that SSG really excels at, SSG should be able to put themselves in a much better position. That may just be as simple as trying to put a few more players in from Dragon side and add some extra pressure from that direction.
Well, for TSM, when it comes to delaying time, they've done a decent job on the roaming game in a handful of rounds, but it just seems that Armory is not their place to attempt that. It honestly does feel as though they're just throwing bodies to the wolves when they are on roam game on that site. Obviously, that's going to be a little bit different up here, as they're going to be playing a lot closer to the chest, holding down waiting and initiation, and that's what a lot of teams favor here on this site. So should be able to keep quite a few more members of the squad alive. We'll have to see if SSG has any ideas about that.
So just to check over towards control, definitely seems like it's going to be a factor of getting some control over here towards Dragon side, and obviously in control room itself, no pun intended, and then work their way into initiation from there. That'll clear out Geo. That'll obviously put the extra heat onto Merc too. Merc's been the primary problem for SSG when it comes to attacking this site, but that's also been the primary problem because they've been attacking from cafes. Now that the majority are attacking from Dragon, there could be a whole different set of issues that'll present itself. Obviously, with the soft destruction noise going off, Geo's very much heard this and has flipped himself around to get ready for the push.
SSG slow and steady, and we'll see if it wins the race. No early deaths here for TSM. It's the patience is working out once again. Mutant jammers in play from Geo that are going to hinder the SSG intel game, but they're already getting some pressure onto initiation as the hard panel is blown to the right here. Geo actually the only man playing the waiting initiation side. Merc is actually out at the top of yellow with that rotation that we've seen them play quite a few times already.
Geo just patiently waiting. Unfortunately, he cannot know which direction this push is going to come from. Could be a swing from the office bathroom. Could be a red dragon push here, and that's exactly what it is going to be. Bosco rolls out. There's even a Valcam still alive in the back there for a while there, but it's just now going to get spotted on the fallback from Bosco after the successful frag against Geo. Geo may have been pushing forward due to the intel coming from that Valcam, but obviously that is not going to be true, as he ends up getting taken out anyway on the swing.
I'm sure Rampy almost had a heart attack there as he almost sledged that Goyo by accident, but achieved with the very first kill for TSM. He takes down Fultz, and Fultz has already been having a day here. Thinking Nade the only other man with 6 kills on the team, but that doesn't mean that SSG still can't get this execute to go off. We're at equal man count here, achieved plenty of damage dealt to him. 15 seconds remain as the executes coming in. Still drone game here from Thinking Nade, or in the rest of the squad, as the man's been down by a nitro cell. Toxic Babes working out, but achieved very low HP. Rampy gets that kill, and they have full sight control now. It's all left up to Chala. He swings with the M590, but Thinking Nade, the only man left alive. And what else did you expect, folks? It's Chala in a clutch moment. TSM find their second round.
Talked about him being the man to look towards in these exact situations, and that's exactly what you get from Chala. The 2v1 closeout from the inside of Break Room puts TSM with another round onto the board, so they're not completely dead in the water just yet, but still, only 2 rounds on the defensive side is not optimal at all for starting out on defense. They're going to have a lot to make up for in the second half here, and if not, we're going to be looking at SSG taking initial control of this series with a 1-0 lead.
All right, well, SSG and TSM switching sides now, so SSG going to be on the defense. We're headed towards Armory throne first, but I'm sure that wasn't a shocker for everybody at home. 6th pick off of the castle over towards the Legion, assuming the 6th pick was more just of a confusion kind of thing, but obviously castle could also be utilized upstairs to try and funnel this entry game from TSM. As for the Legion pick, though, it's definitely going to work out. It's slowing down and just being overall a nuisance to this entry game for TSM. You have quite the lineup here, and obviously since Therm and Mav have been banned, you're going to be seeing a lot of Hibana. It's Geo and Bolo here on the support units, but obviously, as we saw yesterday, that doesn't hinder Bolo all too much with that 100% cost that we saw.
Yeah, and a flawless entry rating as well, apparently.
He's just too damn good at the game. It's one of those people that you watch and you realize that there's no way in hell, even if you had unlimited time, that you could ever get to that level. That's the thing that you realize when you watch Bolo. His mechanical ability, his game sense, everything. Just, you know, top tier.
Very, very good stuff from him. Definitely a match to remember yesterday. But it's not yesterday anymore. It is today. And unfortunately, TSM are not in that dominant position anymore. It's SSG at the moment that's controlling everything except that upstairs site when it came to their attacking rounds. Now they get a chance to try and double down on their lead with some good start on defense if they're able to hold on to a good lead here. It's not going to start out that way, though. Merc with an initial good find. It looks like through the arcade window is going to catch Rampy rolling by and says goodbye to him, at least for this round.
Yeah, it's just very unfortunate for Rampy, especially for the operator that he's playing. Legion is one of the operators inside of Siege that is time-based on his utility, so he gets more goo mines as the round goes on. So this has really limited his ability to impact this round. Still have some presence here from SSG. We'll see if it works out better than TSM's, but obviously early feelings here, not so well.
Merc still on the roam game here for TSM as well, trying to isolate out any of the members from SSG, but SSG have peeled back quite a bit from what we were seeing out and about before. Canadian is going to get spotted by the drone over here in lab. He'll shoot that out real quick, though. They don't know his exact position, and he's on the Jaeger, so thankfully he's going to be pretty mobile anyway, able to get himself into a different spot. He's now moved himself to the inside of barrels. Is this other player from TSM going to expect him to be in there? It's like, certainly yes, but the way the swing is coming, wall going to be broken above him. Doesn't phase Canadian, but it does send him into the open, and more importantly, into Bolo's crosshairs, where he's now going to be able to take him out and push the advantage even further for our attackers.
Very interesting stuff here from TSM, is that was actually Merc above that was waiting to see if they could possibly pinch out Canadian. Bolo on a very aggressive front with Thatcher, and I think that's something that a lot of people aren't used to, but when you have the ability to make it happen, you might as well. That's the SSG members, for the most part, inside of sight, all except for Thinking Nade, who's still inside of maintenance, making his presence known with that nitro cells. It blows up on the ceiling, but doesn't have anything to do with any of the TSM members. Still all at full HP here, with a lot of time still to be had, but they do still have some utility to hold things down on site, with specifically Bosco with all of his toxic babes. TSM making things even more difficult now as they pick up Thinking Nade. So it seems to be that this is going to be an offensive side of the theme park. As Toxic Babes goes down, he'll be able to lock down this wall for most of the time, but he's going to need help from Fultz to be able to keep this entry out.
Seems like it is indeed going to be very attacker sided to start things out, especially when it comes to the roam clear game. Both teams trying to play off-site and have had no luck with that. Fultz, though, with some beautiful play, gets the double, make it 3 as he takes out Bolo. 4 and 5, could be right around the corner, but no, not going to happen this time around. Chala denies it and confirms the round for TSM after what was almost an amazing turnaround. The hand of an individual player from SSG.
TSM had to be sweating bullets there for a second, but at least they were catching them from 3 members. Chala able to finally shut down Fultz before everything went awry. So that's going to be their very first offensive round. No plans from TSM yet, but they didn't need it. All they needed were those frags. For SSG, we're already adjusting away from Armory and probably going to avoid that site like the plague for the time, well, at least for the foreseeable future. Lab storage going to be up next. We're going to have a 6 pick as well from Rampy, 6 picking away from the Mozzie, picking up the Bandit. Good pickup here. They're going to need that to be able to lock down the drug lab, or the lab wall, excuse me, at a quad panel they have towards the back end of that. And we're also going to have a 6 pick from the offense as well. Get rid of that Thatcher, pick up the Capitao. Capitao can be extremely effective as to what we talked about earlier. Wamaya's off the board. He's the only man that counters Capitao in the entire game. Capitao's bolts now have free range to fly wherever they want.
All right, folks, into yet another round here. SSG going to look to find their first successful defense here so far on this map, and TSM obviously looking to get back into the game, looking to get back into a leading position. Both teams having great starts on attacking the throne room, but are they going to be able to follow it through onto a different site? SSG has chosen Lab to follow this up on. Looks like they are setting themselves up, possibly for thinking they need to hold a little bit of an extended hold, I should say, somewhere upstairs here to deny a bit of cafe pressure, and then able to roam around the sites, and he may not be alone in that either. Is Bosco is also nearby, able to assist.
It just seems as though, at least in this matchup, it's been so difficult to get these roam games to work for both of these squads. See if SSG can finally have a successful one, as so far both of these squads, at least offensive units wise, have been extremely good at clearing out this top floor. Not going to have all of the members assigned upstairs, though, as we are going to have Canadian on one of his most known operators. It's going to be the Pulse inside of Throne. That cardiac sensor works super well at gathering a lot of intel. Early damage dealt here, and as we hear the 416C going off, that's definitely going to be Bosco at the top of Arcade Stairs. He lights up Merc. Merc taking quite a bit of damage through that arcade window.
Gonna be all quiet though while TSM tries to figure out a way to get past and more importantly get to the inside of this building. It does look like there is priority on trying to clear out arcade if at all possible. That may be one of the hardest things they have to do here. However, may prove itself to be necessary as attacking Lab without that could also prove fatal to them if SSG are going to be able to properly utilize the top down angles or just fall back and be able to collapse against the attack there. Bosco's position going to get reconfirmed here via the drone that's sent in through Cafe, so he'll also have to change position. Going to play now inside of daycare over by the train. Keep in mind, like I said, not alone here either. Does have some support right nearby from Bosco. Potentially another player wrapped around at the stairs too. Some spam coming in from Merc, and it is going to work out. Isolates out Thinking Nade. Goodbye to the mute. Rampy now is able to swing on the Bandit by Yellow Stairs though. Picks up the trade. Bosco finds one as well, eliminating Geo. Now SSG hold control over the man advantage, and they're going to feel safer to start pulling back those roamers closer to the site.
Beautiful refrags here from SSG, slowing down this offense, but still plenty of time to be able to get that diffuser and get it planted. Plenty of intel gathering still for the defense as well, with Canadians still alive, so they should be able to read into where the push is coming from, or even further, play where that cardiac sensor is if they have the intel on it, as this is all soft flooring directly above. Natural cell out. Canadian blows it up and achieved his sent sky high. It's down to Chala and Bolo now. Still plenty of utility to be had, at least in Bolo's hands, which could possibly help them at least break line of sight. But with minimal time and minimal entry kills, this is more than likely not going to go well.
Bosco just not giving Bolo that fight. Pretty sure he knows that Bosco is holding the position on the inside of Split here, but regardless, there's no reason for Bosco to challenge that. Finally does swing out just to give Bolo a piece of it, but at the end of the day, Bolo's going to block it off with the incendiary bolt anyway. Chala will be able to pick up the first trade back as they're going to try and execute it very, very low time. Second firebolt going to work its way in, but now Rampy swings back out. He's able to take down Bolo, leaves Chala is the only player left alive here for TSM, and unfortunately without much time left, hey, he'll be able to get the kill on Canadian at least, but he is not going to be able to win the round. SSG take number 8 here and inch closer and closer to victory. here on our first map.
Fantastic roam there from SSG, backing off right when they needed to and leaning on that intel of the pulse, able to guide them through that entire round. Beautiful stuff, but we're already headed into round 9, and it just seemed as though the engine stalled out there for TSM. Those deaths continued to trickle, and there was no band-aid to be able to stop that. So now for TSM, they're going to be headed towards Armory Throne for their offense here. At least attacking wise, we are going to be seeing the castle brought. We'll wait for the 6th pick to see if they go with it once again off of this. But this time it's actually not going to be Rampy. It's going to be Canadian. You see 6 picks for the Jaeger over to the Valkyrie. So we're not going to have any throwable utility, well, denial at least, brought by the defense, which could possibly be a bad thing. But we'll have to see exactly how this goes. That means all this throwable utility you guys see on the right-hand side of your screen is all confirmed. Every bit of it. All the stun grenades, all of the frag grenades, everything. It's all there.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Important to note the change up to the operator lineup could mean we're going to see a much more site-centric hold coming out on this round from SSG compared to the very roam-centric playstyle that's been used by both SSG and TSM in all of the thrown rounds prior to this one here. Take a look at how things look once it's fully set up here to get a better picture of how exactly they're going to play this. Thinking it, of course, on the Mira, too, is definitely a big change up to this. We'll see where exactly those are going to get positioned to help the game here from SSG. And it actually looks like it may be utilized for the roam game if they're going to put one mirror up here to try and help things out. And yeah, it's going to go right over here on the office softball, looks like, to try and help out against the cafe push.
Well, Merc has a drone underneath the vending machine here in the hallway, so more than likely going to be seeing a west to east clear, but that seems to be, at least for the most part, what SSG are expecting. They're playing the center of the map, just trying to adapt to whatever TSM wants to do. I'm really liking this setup with the Mira window upstairs and these 2 members here as well. So drones now spinning up for TSM as they're clearing out this western side. It's Merc on entry once again, but what else would you expect? He's got the R4C in hand, one of his most notable operators, but Canadians lying in wait underneath. We'll have to see if there's a nitro cell. We see the Valkyrie cam up in the corner, and they're playing off of it via intel. You can see it's blue. Merc tries to sprint in, and hey, what a bait by him. Reads right into the situation, knows that flooring is soft. More than likely seen that quite a few times in scrims.
Not going to get tricked up by that one, but there is a massive hole in the floor now where he has to watch out for fireback coming in from the Valkyrie. Immediately recognizes the camera too, so good immediate intel coming in from TSM there to help out. He'll make it through. There's not going to be any resistance put onto it from the other side by Canadian there, so now they're going to see that this mirror window is positioned on the inside of office, and that's where things get a little bit harder. On top of that, Canadian does return, I think, to that top-down floor. Oh, no, he goes to a completely different position. Excuse me. He's way over here top Dragon now, and he's able to take out Chala.
I think that guy's got the Nike boosts on. He's sprinted all the way across the map.
I know, he was like in lab a few seconds ago. I was like, when did he rotate over here?
Oh, man, he's powered by woos. Oh, my God, Merc with a wide swing onto Rampy, but Rampy's ready for it. Immediate headshot takes out Merc, and what else would you expect from this world champion? We saw his patience yesterday on Coastline, but this time it's all aggression all the way. That's the TSM still droning things out, but SSG is just adding insult to injury at this point. This roam clear is not going well. SSG throwing the book at him and including nitro cells. Downs Geo. Diffuser kit now down as well, but Achiev's going to be able to pick him up. Geo now only down to 20 HP, but Bolo also gets a big pick here. This could help them out with this roam clear.
And Canadian's going to get pinched there, too, as trying to return to the site, but the very same player achieved the good hold there, able to isolate out some of these angles on top of the Bolo hold back over at lower 90. That's kind of brought TSM back into this game. A very arduous roam clear, but it does eventually kind of work out, although definitely losing more players than I think they would have asked for out of that one. On top of that, Geo is just barely alive right now at 20 HP. Thankfully, he gets revived. He very much needed those X-Kairos charges to open up the yellow angle to get themselves in. Rampy comes back into the fold, though. He finds the next pickup before finally retreating downstairs. He'll take out Achieved in the process. Now going to start to wrap onto Bolo. And Geo here, already taking down Geo. That's the diffuser. Gone. Bolo wouldn't even really have had time to go retrieve it, let alone the capability to get all of those kills. So it's yet another round going into the hands of SSG as they push up to map point.
Extremely impressive stuff from SSG, and specifically Rampy in that round. Just all over the map alongside Canadian. Obviously, Canadian getting picked up midway through there, but obviously the highlight of that entire round has to be that roam game from SSG, viciously shutting down TSM. They weren't even able to get anything going on site. They eventually got the wall open, but only one man was allowed inside, and he just sprinted over to Furnace to try and play things safe, eventually getting killed. All of a sudden, we're at map point here. 6-3 split between these two right now as SSG is trying to shut it down on Bunk.
Bandit gonna end up getting 6-picked in here as well to try and hide the extra wall reinforcements or potentially the more aggressive playstyle that we might see out of the Bandit if he's not going to be actively tricking. Might be more than likely that situation, as it's very similar to how TSM also were utilizing him. And I think SSG as well brought him in at least, well, once possibly on an earlier round. Memory's not too great on that. But either way, setup for the site besides that should be pretty straightforward, especially with a Mira in play here is going to give SSG quite the capability to have a bit of an extended hold for themselves, along with one closer to the site, if they set it up in a similar fashion to how they did in the previous round.
Well, they're going to be bringing the Mira once again. Be playing that inside of Bunk in towards daycare, and we'll see where the other Mira goes down. And actually, it's going to be extended vision here, as they're going to put them directly in line with each other, so you'll be able to look through the other Mira via the other Mira. Isn't that impressive? Thinking nade and the rest of the squad now. Still a few reinforcements as TSM is let out of the gates. It seems that they are going to be handling things similarly to how we saw SSG with splitting up their operators throughout the map. See if they can possibly catch somebody off guard with a pinch or something along those lines.
Bomb located by attackers.
Bolt's potentially going to contest against this window play here if Geo decides to go the full distance up. Looks like he is going to roll up towards it now. Very delicate duel here for both players, depending on who is going to be the aggressor out of this one. Oh, and there you go. Geo fires the first shot, ends up being a mistaken one, as Foltz immediately locks on to where that fire is coming from, fires back, and takes out the only hard breach on TSM.
That might have been the worst operator to peek that window with. The only hard breach on your entire team is dead within the first minute, and now TSM are stuck to trying to get entry kills and trying to funnel into this site. And as we've seen from the SSG setup, that's not going to be a good time. But they do have Bolo now on the G8. Everyone touting him as one of the best G8 players in the world, if not the best. And they're definitely going to need his best here to be able to get inside.
Means a lot for the folks on SSG with the elimination of him. Achieved, however, the nice find, a very well-placed nade to catch the trade and take out Rampy. Still going to leave Foltz alive, though. It's not an exact trade, but gets the job done anyway and takes out a smoke, arguably just as important of an operator for delay potential as it is Geo's hard breach there. So, tit for tat. SSG will have to fight without their smoke now. Thankfully for them, with hard walls secured, or reinforced walls secured, excuse me, they're still going to have quite a bit of aggressive capability, as they don't have to worry about additional angles being opened up on them from the inside of the site. Really just the two outer soft walls over here from Bunks is the only thing they would have to be careful of, since obviously there's quite a bit of soft breach. Bolo finds the next pickup and Achieve with another nade kill. He's 2 for 2 on this round with those. Very well played. This time he takes out Foltz and gets the real trade on the only loss the TSM have taken so far. And now everything is going to fall to Bosco and Thinking Nade under some heat right now too, so even he may not be alive for much longer.
And TSM seemingly not needing the hard destruction. Might as well lean on the grenades of Achieved as he goes 2 for 2 on those. Stun grenades in now, almost blinding Thinking Nade, but he actually ends up killing Merc. They already know where last is. Problem with the shotgun, but not accounting for Achieved to his right-hand side. That's going to be a triple for Achieved off the round, but 2 kills off of utility usage, and that's exactly the kind of play they needed after that initial entry there, or the initial death, excuse me, from TSM. But they still need 2 rounds to be able to push this to overtime. We'll have to see exactly what they'll have to be playing into. Overall, though, very good round. A nice adaptability there from TSM, utilizing their utility more to break down the site than that hard destruction, using Merc underneath to be able to get rid of the Mira play. There's a lot of good things going on.
Yeah, great to turn the break room hold against the defenders right there, as SSG were relying pretty heavily on that, especially with the Mira setup, in order to pick up some kills, and obviously that got turned right on its backside due to the very well-placed grenades from Achieved coming out of that round, and we can hopefully expect more of that in the future. Lab's going to be the next site for SSG to try to close this map out on. As Stokes already mentioned, there is 2 more chances for SSG to win out this first map in regulation. Otherwise, it's going to go to OT in those 3 additional rounds in order to figure out who's coming out on top of this one. Very similar operator lineup for TSM. Pretty much the same thing can be said here for SSG, with obvious adjustments per site as needed instead of the Mira. For instance, we're going to end up with Canadian, and instead of a smoke, we've got a mute.
Well, Geo not having the best time here on Theme Park. Currently 1-1-10. sadly enough. But he has been rocking the hard breach, obviously, with the diffuser kit. Just not able to win out his ones, and sometimes it's just how it goes. SSG now headed towards lab and have an upstairs hold, but that's exactly what they're going to need. Canadian back onto the pulse. The previous round that we saw them play this, it went extremely well for SSG. Able to get a lot of kills early on and slow down this push from TSM. TSM not bringing the Capital this time. They put Bolo back over onto the EMP man, Thatcher in play. So, more than likely going to be able to get rid of quite a bit of utility.
Bosco going to start to swing up towards those top arcade stairs now that they do have a pretty good idea that it looks like TSM are going to try to execute through Cafe. Not just him that'll be in position there. You've also got Rampy potentially to swing from either the inside of Office or Top Yellow. He's playing Top Yellow before, so I believe he's playing from the inside of there instead of Office. We'll double check that. Thank you very much. They do have the double reinforcement over on the Office wall, so yeah, they wouldn't be able to play to the inside of the Office hold as TSM was often doing against this type of push in the previous half. Rampy obviously going to be more exposed by that, but also a bit more secured from any potential Dragon and Cafe pushes if TSM really wanted to split push this on a
This is a powerful spot that Rampy's playing here at the top of Yellow. He's already destroyed quite a few drones. They know his presence here, but this is the beauty. He's able to rotate safely throughout the map, specifically through the waiting room area. Getting aggressive, they were ready for him. Pre-fires for the top of Dragon, but doesn't find much. Canadian on the other end, though, takes down a Chief inside of Gong. I don't exactly know where that corpse is, and actually, no, it is inside of Gong room. He just tried to go in right through the double. I'm assuming the Chief sledged it, had that hammer out, and Canadian was just sitting with open arms, but actually, no. Canadian actually did take some damage inside of that engagement, so just ended up winning it out with the ump.
Great intel from SSG right here because they were fully focused on stopping the Cafe push, and as soon as TSM started to rotate over to the other side, SSG also was able to get info that was happening somehow as well. So that's when you saw, you know, Rampy go for the sprint over there, and I believe we had the same exact thing happen by the player that picked up the initial kill as well on the inside of Gong. So some really heads-up play at the moment from SSG. The player that got the initial kill, though, is now dead. Chala finds the trade on that one and is hungry for more. He'd be right to keep looking at Top Dragon over there, too. But there is going to be a potential rotate from SSG coming in to try and pick up the trade against Chala. We'll see if that's going to be successful or not. But in the meantime, TSM are inching closer on the first floor to charting this entry onto the site. They still have some roamers to deal with, though, so this is going to be a very, very dangerous push if they don't deal with those players from SSG that are still out and about right now.
Sadly, it's looking like too little too late as Rampy's existence is still here. And as we've seen prior rounds with his roam game being allowed, he's able to get these late flanks in that just put the last fork that you need inside of the round in order to make sure it's done. 20 seconds remaining. We still need this diffuser on the ground. Is once again Rampy still on this roam game. Drops down towards split. Still waiting to see if anybody could possibly rotate towards him. Geo and Shaw, the last two alive. Big pickup here for Geo. He tries to enter the building, or enter the site rather, but Thinking Nate able to clean that one up. All down to Charlie here, but he's got two to find with minimal time, and it's a shotgun blast from Thinking Nate to shut down TSM on this very last round of Theme Park.
SSG takes solid control, tearing apart the anti-roam in massive fashion. And with that, they're going to be able to claim control of our first map here on Theme Park in 7-4 fashion. The map is going to be coming up after this one, folks, is going to be Villa. That will be TSM's pick. A comfortable